There is a science emerging that is so advanced and it's here to revolutionize the way that we look at health and nutrition. It's so advanced that it actually is getting back to the basics. Because at the end of the day, we get into these complex cycles as humans that we get so complex that really it's going down to the basics, down so small to the smallest parts. And it's called quantum nutrition and quantum nourishment. So QN, the N is nutrition and nourishment. The reason that the nourishment is included is because scientists are getting into how food isn't the only nourishment for our bodies, especially on the quantum level. And what I mean by quantum level is the smallest level. So this quantum nutrition that is coming about, it's a combination of quantum theory, quantum mechanics, quantum physics, which is basically the science of how matter and energy function at the smallest parts, the subatomic parts. And it's combining nutrition and nourishment because typical nutrition advice that you hear is not sufficient enough for us anymore. It's about calories and macronutrients. You think just because you know your calories and your macronutrients that you're nourished. No. There's something that's called metabolic health. And I know I'm spitting out all these scientific terms, but I'm breaking them down for you, all right? So your metabolic health is how your body is functioning on the inside, what's happening on the inside, despite what you might look like on the outside. Okay. Metabolic health is the reason why there can be people who are looking fantastic, then the next day they have a heart attack. Because just because you look good on the outside doesn't mean that what's going on the inside is correct. So, metabolic health is how your body is look functioning on the inside, despite what it looks like on the outside. And it's also how well your body is able to turn food into energy and manage internal processes. Okay, so is your body able to take the apple that you eat and absorb all the nutrients from it? Or is it only able to absorb a little bit of the nutrients because there's so much waste in you that it's dealing with this waste, it's dealing with all these other things. So the apple, you're getting some things, but you're not getting all of it, right? Absorption is key in metabolic health. When you are absorbing the nutrients from food, you're able to maybe perhaps eat less, eat different things. And so when we are looking at quantum nutrition, it's so amazing to me. It's fascinating because we're really getting back to the basics, y'all. We're getting back to the basics. God made the world the way it is. And the great thing about quantum nutrition and nourishment is that it's aiming to enhance and maximize our health and also the planet's health. And I love that. You should love that as well, because we can see that we have rising health problems, and also the planet does as well, because we are so connected to the earth. We're so connected to the dirt. We're connected to the sky, just everything on the earth, in the world. We're connected to it. So we're all a part of this big old functioning thing, right? So let's think about our bodies for a second. Our bodies are this big old functioning thing. And inside of our bodies, we have tissues. And these tissues house our cells and they come together to form organs and stuff. And inside the organs and around it, there's blood, there's fluid. We could think about that as the oxygen and the air that we breathe, right? The organs maybe are different cities. And then inside of these cities, right, there's homes, right? So we have the cells. Inside of the cells is a whole world and a whole ecosystem. If y'all haven't seen the latest picture of the cell. I'm gonna show y'all what the most detailed view of the human cell looks like today. I hope this is accurate. Actually, I can't find a source. I saw this picture of the human cell, but actually I'm reading that it's false. Anyways, it's easy to believe because there's so much going on inside of our cell, and there's a whole world in there. There's liquid in there, there's particles in there, and that's basically us, like in the world. We have this whole world, and then there's these smaller parts of the world that create it. And we're a part of that. And then it keeps going down and down and down and shrinking. And I want you to think about something for a second. This is something cool that I learned a little bit in science class and physics class when they were just throwing in some quantum physics at us. So if you have a string and you cut that string in half, right? You can cut it in half again. And then you take the half and you just cut and you cut that in half. And then you take the half and you just cut, you cut that in half. And you take it and you just cut that in half. And you can keep cutting in half. There's always going to be a half that you can cut because when does it end? Even though it's going to be very hard for you after a certain point to cut it in half, doesn't mean that you can't take a microscope and slice it in half. And if you had a microscope that could go tinier and tinier and tinier, how much half down could you get? The substance, it will never go away, right? It'll just get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. So that makes you think about our bodies, right? If we get down to the smallest parts, we can break that down to the smallest part. And then there's going to be a smaller part of that smaller part. And it keeps getting smaller and smaller. It's never ending. We're never ending. We are infinite. We are amazing as humans. But we live in this world that's so complex. We got technology, we got cars, we got jobs, we got school, we got kids, we got things to take care of. But when you think about the world on this scale, it makes you wonder what we are really capable of that we haven't tapped into. If we are just made up of these smaller, smaller parts that kind of never end, they're never ending. What does that say about us? What does that say about our abilities to do things, our abilities to think? Like, how far can we even think? What can we create? Like, we see that we are these amazing beings, these amazing human beings who can create things. And we live in a world that doesn't always reward that creativity unless you start shaking things up, unless you start making the world reward your creativity. There's all these systems in place, the school system, the government system that put us into these, they indoctrinate us into certain things, make us believe certain things. But we are much more capable than whatever these systems tell us that we are. And that's part of why I love quantum nutrition because and quantum nourishment because it's a way that we can maximize our health. It's a way that we can fight back against big food, big pharma, which are super connected, and kind of take back the autonomy that we have over our health because our health is connected to a lot of the things that we can do, right? If your health is not in order, you might have low energy. You have low energy, that energy is not going to be able to manifest itself into certain things. And manifest just simply means be created, right? Like it's not like, oh, I'm thinking about this and poof, it pops up. Like when you're able to take your energy and put work into it and turn it into something, it becomes something. But when you're low energy, you can't even do that. It's going to take too much. And your energy and your health are connected, all right? So, I'm going to give you a very formal definition of quantum nutrition and nourishment. Stay with me. It's going to sound, you'll be able to comprehend it. You're smart. An integrative quantum nutrition is an integrative approach that reconciles quantum mechanics, which we talked about, magnetic field phenomena. So electric magnetic fields are basically fields of energy that are both electric, like how you can turn on the light, and magnetic, like how you can um, push magnets together or have them repel. So it's these fields of energy that are electric and magnetic. They have both of those properties. So this integrative approach reconciles quantum mechanics, electromagnetic field phenomena, and circadian biology with nutrition science to optimize how the body functions at the subatomic and cellular levels. Circadian biology is essentially how our bodies are connected to the sun, the moon, the way like the sun rises and then it sets and the stars come out, the moon um has its phases, like that's circadian biology. And then nutrition science is basically nutrition, right? Like what foods give to our bodies, what nutrients they have, what minerals they have. And this is all being combined to optimize how our bodies function at the subatomic and cellular levels. The reason why I was saying that it's so simple, we're getting back to basics, is because they're using all these big words, and the way that you apply this, the practical application is going to be the basics. So let's get into the practical application of how you can start today and be applying quantum nutrition and nourishment to your life, optimizing your health with this new science. And we're going to talk a lot more about this on this channel as I continue diving deeper into it and studying, because this is something that I have been talking about for years. However, I just found out that there's a science name for it. And what's crazy is I even made a video talking about quantum nutrition. I kind of made it my own definition. And I then decided to look up, wait, did I just make this up? Did I just make up quantum nutrition? But I started to find, no, like people are talking about quantum nutrition and they have their own definitions for it. So they got to it first. But I'm like, this is what is in the minds of the people who are super health conscious, because like it's just back to the basics. And let's begin. Okay, so the way that you are going to apply this is by having a biodiverse and localized diet. So biodiverse meaning omnivorous, so you're eating some meat, you're eating some vegetables and some fruit, some fish. So it's biodiverse, it's including a lot of different things. Not processed foods. We're talking about real foods that you can find. If it's meat, it's real meat. It's not fake meat. It's not glue meat. It's not 3D meat or whatever they are selling these days that you can make from a little chicken cell. You can make a whole piece of chicken, or a little salmon cell. You can make a whole piece of salmon. Did y'all see that video of Mr. Beast showing the chicken sandwich that was lab made basically and promoting that? I saw a little bit of that and I was like, I hope this is AI. I hope this is an AI video. But yeah, there's fake meat out here. So, and I'm not even talking about plant-based meats like Beyond Meat and Impossible Meat. That's one thing that you absolutely should avoid. But I'm talking about like really the real meat that we eat, starting to lab grow it. We want to avoid that because if we're thinking about how we're connected to the earth, what is that turning us into when we feed our bodies this fake food and then our bodies use that as energy and as building blocks for the rest of us, for our brains, for our hair, for our skin? These fake foods are building us and then we're becoming fake humans. And when I mean fake, it's not like we're turning into robots, but we're turning into something outside of God's original design for us, right? Like that's what's fake. God had an original design for us to be real. And when we're eating fake foods, we become sick. We become psychotic. We become obese. We become depressed. And I feel like it is so connected to mental health too. And that's why people have ADHD, like their brains aren't functioning properly. There's people who have gotten rid of their ADHD by changing the way that they eat. And I do wonder, this is a question that comes up in my mind a lot as we see a rise in autistic children. Is that due to the way that the parents have been nourished? And we'll get into what happens as a parent when it comes to quantum nutrition soon. So, eating a biodiverse diet. So, you're eating fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, wild caught seafood. You're going to eat real meat, just all these different things because they help create a biodiverse gut. And your gut has a lot of different things going on down there. It's doing a lot. And there's a lot happening on the quantum level in our guts. They found that our guts go through a process very similar to photosynthesis. And the way that our guts do this is dark, right? So it's like, how is our guts doing something like photosynthesis without light? Well, our guts have like these bioluminescent properties. And if you, bioluminescence is basically creating lights where through your body. So if we think about the deep, dark bottom of the ocean, there's bioluminescent fish who have evolved to have lights on them so that they can see at the bottom of the ocean where there's no sunshine getting through. There's no sunshine getting through to our guts. However, it goes through this process where it's creating photosynthesis and some type of light. Hmm. Very interesting, right? Because if our guts are doing like a photosynthesis type of thing and able to, you know, gather energy from chlorophyll and ferritin and help us grow, help us be healthy, we really have to be intentional with what we feed our gut so that it can support us in this process so that we can be healthy down to a cellular level. Cancer is when your cells get unhealthy. To really simplify it, you have like some unhealthy cells and then they start multiplying because that's what cells do. They divide and they learn how to multiply themselves. And also they die off. Like our bodies are really good at killing cells that are bad. We have these little things in us that fight for us too. That's our immune system. And when your immune system is messed up, which is mostly in the gut, we can have all these different diseases like cancer, where it doesn't know that it needs to kill this cancer cell. And so the cancer cell starts splitting and then it starts growing rapidly. So we have to be very intentional about what we put inside our bodies. So the first part of that was biodiverse. The second part of that is localized. Localized meaning that where your food is coming from meets you fairly closely. So the farm that you're getting your food from is not far from you. It's not like you're in the United States and your food is coming from somewhere super far, like China. Although there's some specialty items that you can dry and ship and things like that, the as long as we're maintaining as many properties as we can, that's going to be important. That's why this type of diet, a biodiverse and localized diet, is good because it helps protect our body's biodiversity. Remember, we are like a mini Earth in a sense. It's a diverse Earth. Imagine if the Earth was just one type of way. Like, that's weird. Okay. And we talked about this a little bit, but fresh over processed food so that we can preserve the subatomic and structural integrity of the food and of how it can be processed in our bodies. Something that I want to bring to your awareness is apeel. Apeel, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. That's how it's spelled. Apeel, apeel is this coating that can be found on fruits and vegetables in certain supermarkets that helps them stay fresh for longer. Apeel is not going to be healthy. And there's a lot of supermarkets. If you're here in the United States, I'm talking to you because I don't even think other countries have apeel. But there's a lot of stuff in our supermarkets that is allowed here, fruits and vegetables that have a peel. So you need to check if your grocery store that you shop at sells produce with this coating on it. If you buy some avocados and they might be sitting there for a while and not going bad or anything, they probably have this coating on them that's going to be dangerous. It's not fresh. Food should rot. Food should go bad because it's the food's way of showing us that it has lost its nutrients, that we shouldn't eat it. The smell, the look, the taste, it all signals to our bodies that we can't eat it. There's animals who can eat rotten food and it doesn't signal bad to their bodies. I think pigs could probably eat mold. We cannot eat mold. That is a signal. If we eat that, our bodies go stupid because it signals to us. So all these little things that happen with food and the way that our bodies process them are showing us how healthy it is for us. When something's sour, that can tell us that it's spoiled. When something is bitter, that can tell us that it's poison. All right, when something's sweet, it tells us that it has a lot of nutrients. When something's salty, it tells us that it has minerals. That's how our bodies can register different flavors. Now, including these fresh foods, what you need to eat is foods rich in chlorophyll and ferritin. And that's because of our guts. Our guts need this to be healthy. And chlorophyll um has, you know, so many properties. A lot of chlorophyll rich foods like those greens, they have so many good vitamins inside of them, like vitamin K. And ferritin is going to come from iron rich foods. And to boost your ferritin, I know this is something a lot of women are interested in right now. Boosting your ferritin, you want to eat iron rich foods with vitamin C rich foods so that the iron is better absorbed by your body because vitamin C helps with iron absorption. Something cool with quantum nutrition is that when you eat with other people, it actually signals a healthy response to your body on a quantum level. There's these things called phonons, which are tiny sound particles. You might be familiar with the term photons. And photons are those light particles and energy particles. Phonons are the sound particles. So when we're eating with people, and I know we hate it, but when someone is smacking, that signals kind of safety to our bodies. It signals something to our bodies that we're in community, that we're safe, that, the tribe is all together. We're having a good time. We're sharing this good food. So smacking, swallowing, all these sounds of maceration, they signal to our bodies on a quantum level. They're nourishing. They're very nourishing to us. And those inputs, that sound wave connects with the other waves in our bodies. Also, we need to really lock in on our circadian rhythm. Okay. Notice how, as I'm going down this list, it really is getting back to the basics, like eating farm fresh foods, eating fresh foods, like combining the right foods, eating with people instead of in front of a computer. And now we're talking about circadian rhythm, which is basically when the sun rises, you rise as well. You wake up. And then when the sun sets, you are ready for bed. You're going to bed. Your body should be in like a clock, your internal clock should be in tune with the world's clock and not the world that's set up for us, not the 9 to 5 world, the world that the sun and the moon. Okay, circadian rhythm is so important. Sunlight gives our bodies nutrients, vitamin D, we know that. But also, moonlight and starlight give our bodies nutrients too. A lot of people way back when, whenever, used to sleep outside, right? A lot of people used to sleep outside. That used to be more of a normal thing. There are still several people who sleep outside, and they're lucky in a way because that they're receiving starlight, they're receiving moonlight, which our bodies register as well as quantum nutrition, as quantum nourishment. That light, those photons from the stars and the moon, nourish our bodies as well. And you have to get in nature as much as possible to prevent nature deficit disorder. Nature deficit disorder is what it sounds like. You're deficient in nature. Too much of this. Like, we're locked in right now, but after this video, hope walk outside or walk outside and listen to this, but preferably after so that you can have just, you don't even have the sound from this technology, right? These tools are all getting us back to how we were at one point as humans. Like before, humans were quantumly nourished in a real way. And I think that's why they had certain technologies and people who were these elite writers and artists. I think because they were able to connect, like their health was on a different level. Their brains were able to function on a different level. We got pyramids, the Egyptian pyramids, they were doing some crazy work. They might have knew some things about quantum nourishment that we don't know right now, that we're lost. And the thing with circadian rhythm, if you need help with waking up with the sunrise, going to sleep close to the sunset. I know sunset can be early sometimes. So like a few hours after, getting a something that helps you to get off of your technology is really going to help because our technology and the blue light is what forces us to stay up. That blue light makes us think that it's daytime. When it's like 2 o'clock during the day, the light is very blue. That's the same light that we're getting from our screens. And so it messes with our body's clock because our bodies and our eyes are receiving this information that tells our bodies that it's actually 2 o'clock and not 7 o'clock and it's time for bed. So we have to get things like a brick. A brick is basically this thing that helps you get off of your phone if you don't have the willpower. And then just getting outside more is going to naturally help you with your circadian rhythm because you'll be receiving the sunlight and your body will feel like, okay, it's daytime because I'm receiving the sunlight. And then if you're out and when the sun's going down, your body will also register that as, oh, it's time for bed, and you'll start getting sleepier. So having some outdoor activities that you can do, whether you join a sports team, local sports team, or do some cool meetup things like there's this website called Meetup, there's Eventbrite, there's All Events where you can find these types of outdoor type of hobbies that will help you with your circadian rhythm. And not only that, they will also help with they help you with your circadian rhythm because you'll be outside. But even if you're not outside, a lot of the time you will be off of your devices, and that's also helping with your circadian rhythm. Just to be in communion with people and off your devices is going to limit your screen time overall. So we need to get in nature, get rid of that nature deficiency that many of us have. And you'll notice too, as a woman, when if you have your period, that the more you're outside, the more sunlight you get, the more you're eating chlorophyll and ferritin, your period will be so much more pleasant. There won't be that much pain, or you might get rid of your pain completely, and it will shorten its time, its length in time. Whether you have a long or a short period, it will shorten because periods are a result of domestication. They're a result of living inside of boxes. So when we're outside more, our bodies don't have to bleed as much. A lot of people have shortened their periods so much they have no pain. And some people have gotten rid of their periods completely. This is this is arguably it definitely depends on you specifically. Like there's athletes who get to a certain level of athleticism and they lose their period, and it's because their bodies are like peak functioning. There's people who are so in tune with the earth, they might sleep outside a lot, eat, catch, and cook their food outside. Um, and so they might not have periods every month. Now there's other people who don't get periods every month, and it's not because their body is healthy. It's actually due to not being healthy. So that's up for you to discern and your medical practitioner to discern that. And a lot of medical practitioners, I don't know if they really know that there's people who don't have their periods out here because I've talked to medical doctors who have told me things that are completely false and against natural healing, which is possible. So just make sure you're talking to a doctor, a medical practitioner that you trust and who does this type of research. So, let's get into parents, right? Because I mentioned earlier about autism, and I'm wondering if that has anything to do with the way that we are living, right? I'm curious to know what's the rise in autistic children. Wow. So, it's one article from Johns Hopkins. I try not to do anything from like any type of articles from sources that don't look trustworthy. I know I'm doing a quick skim, but Johns Hopkins is a reputable school, so that's where I am basing it off in just this quick 30 seconds, okay? So it says over the past 20 years, autism diagnoses have increased by about 300%. That's a lot. 300%. And this relates to quantum nutrition because parents especially need to be cautious about uh their kind of relation to EMFs, their connection to EMFs. And it's because EMF sensitive proteins and subatomic electron entanglement can alter DNA and have epigenetic consequences across generations. Parents to be, especially mothers to be, need to be highly intentional about their environmental and electromagnetic field exposures. So, as parents, there's environmental exposures, electromagnetic field exposures that literally can alter your proteins. It can alter your body processes. That goes through to the child through epigenetics and so on and so forth. So we need to be extra cautious as parents and especially mothers to be because when you're pregnant, the baby's literally inside you, right? It's eating everything you're eating, including your screen time. That baby is eating it. So, in the last 20 years, we have seen technology have an exponential increase in our daily lives. Like, as far as how much we use it for everything, we're pretty much attached to it now. And there has been a rise in autism. And I think it's really changing. I think the technology is really changing our brains, the way that we think, the way that we socially interact. And I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing because if someone develops autism, it's definitely the body's way of advancing that body. It's the body's way of protecting it and making it adapt to whatever changes are happening. So we might have a world in the future where a lot of people are autistic in the way that we interact and things like that will be different. Their brains work differently, right? We see a lot of autistic people are actually geniuses at certain things. They're really great at certain things. And maybe this is our body's way of, like making a change somehow. But also, it's a little bit frightening and scary because that's a disability at the end of the day. It's changing how people operate. Like they're not able to operate normally. And as much as, society can be a problem, we need society. Like we need to operate in society, period. So I'm curious about that connection, but parents need to take caution with EMFs. They need to really just lock in, think about what they're doing, um, and their exposures to different quantum things, the things that we can't see. We can't see 5G, what our phones run on or whatever, but they're running on it. Like we have Wi-Fi, so it exists and it's affecting us. Now, the cool thing about electromagnetic fields is that, um, and quantum nutrition as well, as much as we're getting back to the basics, because we have all this new technology, we're able to do cool things, right? So there's EMF therapy for recovery. So you could be recovering from like surgery or trauma or injuries. And then they'll have a targeted use of low dose EMF, low dose electromagnetic fields that can like target that injury or trauma and help to heal it faster, which I think is awesome. Awesome. And also there's nano medicine. Nano just means really tiny. So like nano medicine for mental health disorders and for brain health, right? So things like dementia, depression, schizophrenia. We have quantum dot technologies that are emerging as highly targeted nanocarriers to deliver drugs directly to these delicate cellular structures. So if you have like nanomedicine that can travel to the cells that are the dementia cells, let's say, how cool if you can actually reverse it, prevent it, get rid of it forever just with this nanotechnology, this quantum technology, y'all. We're healing again. Y'all, we're going to be healing on a quantum level. I hope this has given you some really just basic kind of ways to include quantum nutrition into your life. If this research sounds cool to you, I know it's kind of like sciencey heavy, a little less on the spiritual side, but we gotta get back to reality too. And this is also kind of reminding me of spiritual things as well, because quantum we can't see, right? It's those tiniest particles that we can't see, right? But they create something. They're actually moving. And that's a lot like the spiritual realm. There's things going on that we can't see, but they're creating, they're moving. There's things that's happening, right? Like we don't fight against flesh and blood. We fight against the powers, principalities, the rulers of darkness, okay? In high places. So, meaning we don't fight against the cashier that's being rude. There's a spiritual thing going on that's causing them to be like this spiritual wickedness in high places, right? Not only that, faith, I got to pull out the verse. I always pull out this verse. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. So, if faith is a substance, and it's evidence of things not seen, right? Faith being a substance is probably a quantum substance. We just can't see it. But the more faith that you have, it becomes evidence of the things that you cannot see. It becomes evidence of those things that you're hoping for. And when it comes to fruition, it's because of your faith. It's because of that substance, perhaps a quantum substance, that's there that just uses energy to become this real thing that we get to see in the 3D, that we get to see on Earth. This computer, this phone, someone hoped for that to come through. Someone had faith that they could use and put things together and create something that literally a lot of us don't even understand what's happening. This is kind of like witchcraft. I rebuke that. But it's kind of crazy that we have this phone like we, you know, can just use, and we have access to the internet and this whole world. Someone had faith in that and then it came to fruition. So faith might be a quantum substance that's really it is a substance that's really truly there, and we need to tap into that as a source of our healing, as a source of our mental wellness, our financial wellness, our emotional wellness. And we also need to get back to the basics of what God has created us to be as humans, His intention for us. And that's going to optimize our health more than anything. All right, stay blessed, stay beautiful, and stay golden.